Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and says, I male 28 know that my son isn't mine, but my wife female 26 doesn't think that I do. How do I have this conversation with her? Hello all, throwaway. I made this as short as possible. I'm sorry. I've been married to my wife for 3 years and together for 5. Our son just turned 2 in early June, and to put it bluntly, he looks biracial. His skin is darker than I thought it would have been. He has curly hair, when we most certainly don't, and his features just don't look like the standard white people which we are. He's a beautiful boy. He just doesn't look 100% white. I asked my wife a few days after his birthday if she thought our son looked white. She said yes and asked if I'm accusing her of something. I said no because I genuinely wasn't. I was just wondering. I know genetics can be weird sometimes. We fought and I apologized, but I wasn't able to shake the feeling. So I did the shitty thing and got a test done behind my wife's back. The results came in a few days ago. And I'm not my son's dad. I feel conflicted about my son. I love him, but knowing that he isn't mine is leaving a sour taste in my mouth. Our son definitely prefers me and he's my world, but he's just not biologically mine. I don't know what to make of my feelings. I'm a mix of emotions about my wife. I don't know to talk to her. I'm angry, confused, and feeling very, very betrayed. I'm heartbroken too. I still love her. She's working at the moment and I don't want to disturb her at the office, but I feel like I'm going to explode. This is all very difficult for me to process and I can't. I can't think of when my wife cheated. We always had each other's locations for safety purposes and I can't think of any suspicious friends that she has or had. We go on regular dates and our bedroom isn't dead. We were also trying for a baby around that time, so I don't know when she cheated on me or why. Ever since we are married, she's been over the moon, constantly showing off her ring and talking about me. She's like a teenager in love. How do I tell her that I know, or get that ball rolling? I don't know what I want to do yet, as stupid as that sounds. I've been stewing on it for a few days, but I still love her so much. Maybe someone can knock some sense into me. I need help. Edit. I'm becoming overwhelmed with the comments, I'm sorry. I wanted to reply to a few, but I can't. I just wanted to say thank you for commenting and that I also hope our baby was just swapped, as terrible as that sounds. Our baby didn't look biracial at birth. As he got older, he started developing features that didn't look entirely like ours. If our son's skin didn't darken over time, I don't think I ever would have questioned anything. The other features can be explained as a little fun surprise or a few generation hops maybe. I know that genetics can be weird. Icy Doctor says, you place the results of the test in front of her and you say, we need to have a conversation and go from there. Edit to add, you could express your concerns about baby being switched at birth and request your wife obtain a test to ensure. You didn't want to say anything to her unless it came back as it did. Original Doge Star replies to that saying, let's hope it isn't like another Reddit person who found out their child was swapped at birth. That was a ride. False Impression says this is where you need to be strategic, not emotional. I'd get a second test just to be sure, and I might even have the kid tested against her DNA, if you can obtain it, as it would rule out a hospital mix-up. Super rare, but it does happen. Then talk with a lawyer and probably pull half of any shared accounts before confronting her. Edit, yes, check with a lawyer before yanking money. The reality is, either person on a joint account can empty it. If you are reliant on a partner who has been proven scientifically untrustworthy, take steps to protect yourself. The Unpolitical says you mentioned that you were trying. Did you do any IVF? I just watched a documentary where a fertility doctor switched his sperm for any male patient's sperm. Also, there could have been a mix-up there. Also, someone said about a switch at the hospital. Give her the results and ask her to start explaining. Most importantly, talk to a lawyer and immediately start separating any and all financial accounts. As for the whole location being on thing, yeah, someone can leave their phone in one place while they physically go to another place and then come back to pick up the phone, so you can't rely on that. If If you have will and determination, you can figure out anything. And for me, if I'm being completely honest, when I read the post, infidelity is the first thing that popped into my head. I didn't even really consider the hospital swap, which, I've seen it before in other posts and I've definitely heard of it in the news as well. So there is that possibility as well. And if it does go down the infidelity route, I just want to know why, because it sounded like from OP's perspective, she was happy in love and just enjoying life. So why then? But OP comes in with an update and says, I don't know if anyone will see this, as the subreddit I posted to doesn't allow updates after 48 hours, but hello if you do. Getting the bad news out of the way first. My son isn't mine. I feel devastated and will be divorcing my wife. My wife and I had a talk about our son a few days after my post, and my wife cracked under the pressure. She admitted to cheating on me without me even mentioning the test I'd gotten done. All I asked was if she really thought our son looked white. I mean it when I say that if his son never got darker, I wouldn't have known. She cried a lot and begged for forgiveness and told me that we can all still be a happy family. But my image of her shattered right then and there. I'm going through heartbreak, so forgive any mistakes. I'm currently living with my parents. I asked her when she even found the time to cheat on me, and she told me that she would leave her phone in a location and use another. She told me that cheating was a mistake and an accident. How was it a mistake if you had it so planned out? We were trying for a baby around then, and she told me that she couldn't handle the pressure of it all and just wanted to escape. She didn't escape very well if she still got pregnant and acted like we were perfect. Thank you again to everyone. My wife will be now known as my ex-wife. I apologize to anyone who had hope and thought it was a baby switched at birth situation. I'm somewhat happy it wasn't, because that would be terrible, but extremely disappointed because that means he really isn't mine. There wouldn't be any more DNA tests because she admitted to everything and showed me some text messages. There won't be any more updates from me either, because I just want to move on with my life. I'll get everything sorted and figure out the whole custody thing. Thanks again, everyone. Goodbye. And OP was exactly right. How can this be an accident when she purposely left her phone there so she wouldn't be tracked at all, basically? It was planned out. That's not an accident. And all I can say is, OP, I'm fucking sorry, mate, that you had to go through that you're still going through that. And all I can do is wish you all the best going forward. But now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Pumice Alice from the Off My Chest subreddit and says, I'm leaving because my boyfriend asked me for a prenup. I've been with my boyfriend for about 2 years. Everything is going well and we love each other. We've been discussing marriage and he mentioned he would not marry me without a prenup. We discussed things in detail and I did not like what he proposed. His family owns a lot of property, land, and has a lot of savings. After marriage, he wants me to move into one of the houses his parents own. I told him I'm uncomfortable building a life and a family in a house I have no ownership in, and he didn't understand. I told him I'd prefer to rent a place together, or we can live temporarily in one of his parents' houses and look at a property together. But he refused. He said he liked the houses his parents and he already owned. He said he would not buy other property. He said he would not sell any of his property to buy one with me. He told me if I wanted to own property, I could save up money by living in one of these properties and invest in one myself. Problem is, he would be entitled to half if we divorced, since my purchase would happen after marriage. He told me I could pay his parents rent if I feel like I don't belong on the property. He told me I could buy half of the house we live in from his parents. Problem is, I don't like the houses that him or his parents own. They also have a lot of stuff and I feel like there's no space for me. I want to look at houses, I want to pick the place I live in, and I want to do it with my partner. I've made this clear to him over and over, but he won't budge. He earns more than me, and he has more assets than me for sure. He made it clear he was afraid I was a gold digger, and he wants to protect himself and his family's assets from me, which I can understand. The whole thing has made me feel very weird. This topic has come up before, and it has always made me feel very small. It makes me feel like all he cares about are his assets. It makes me feel like he wants me as long as I fit into the life he already built, and doesn't care to build one with me. Makes me feel like a gold digger. He has enough money to retire right now and live comfortably. I don't. He basically told me that whatever money he earns now, he can spend, so he won't be investing in too much anymore. He expects our earnings and our savings after marriage to be split, which I feel off about. I'm sure this is normal for some people. I'm sure other people would be happy to be with someone who is well off. I am not. I want someone beside me building a life with me, not someone who has built a life with his parents and wants me as long as I behave and fit into his life, which is how he's been making me feel. So I'm leaving him. I welcome opinions on this, but yeah, it's been too long that this has made me feel off about our relationship. I'm protecting my peace and leaving him with all his houses and money. Opie adds a bit of context about the prenup talk and says no, he mentioned prenup very early, and I would keep asking him about the details, but he would keep it very vague and assure me we would work it out when the time came. I never asked him about his assets, and I never actually knew how much assets his family had. The only things I knew were from some of his one-off comments about certain assets. If he mentioned this tenant or that tenant or this thing they have to repair, etc., etc. I also initiated these conversations. He mentioned wanting to live with me and work towards marriage. I figured then that the time had come. This is when I sat him down and asked him what he expected from me, what he wanted, and to clarify the conditions of any prenups he wanted to propose. He still tried to dodge my inquiry. It took so long for me to pull this information out of him. I guess I did wait 2 years, but marriage talks seemed like the right time to push him to discuss it. Now for me in this, I'm usually someone who comes into these prenup stories and I think prenups are a good idea. I think they're sensible, but just not like this. And the fact that he's calling you a gold digger in itself is like, what the fuck? It doesn't sound like he trusts or respects you in any way. You're not building a life with him. You have to buy like his parents' property. It just feels like he's going to be financially in control of all your big decisions in your life, and you're just going to have to play along with whatever he wants, basically, because, you know, he has so much money. He's not wanting to build that life. He doesn't want to share his life. I mean, what the fuck is there in this, basically? And I feel like you're making the right decision for yourself in this. So Opie came back into the post to update and said so many things have happened. This is a bit of a rant, and I know I'm missing parts, but I'll try to cover the important bits. Before I start, here's some important context. I have a stable and rewarding career. And though I don't earn as much as him, I'm very happy with what I can afford. My parents have always taught me that women should be independent, and I've taken that to heart. I live below my means, which has allowed me to put aside money for savings and investments. A lot of comments have mentioned that I should take the free rent, and that it would somehow set me forward in life. But for me, giving up my sense of autonomy and control over my home, my safe space, is not worth the potential savings. I lived with my parents and saved aggressively until I was 30. So I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can comfortably afford rent or a mortgage by myself. Plus, he expected the living situation to be permanent. I would not move into a house owned by someone else just to save on rent. Would it be nice to save $2,000 a month? Sure, but most people pay rent and I'm not an exception. If I really wanted that, I could move back in with my parents. But again, autonomy is very important to me. Also, if he's this stubborn now, I don't see how the situation could be improved later after I already moved in. I could also counter the prenup and make it so all my accumulated assets stay in mine, or put in a clause that I'll be compensated for any children we have, or put that I'd get alimony or at least have a roof over my head in case we divorce. But for me, that feels overly transactional. It also gives me the vibes that I'm going to be living with a roommate who I sleep with and might have babies with, not a partner. I prefer to feel like we're in it together. He can keep what is his, but I want to build up what is ours. Also, if everything is completely split, it'll open up a new can of worms. How will our expenses be split if I'm working and he's just chilling? What happens when we have children? He has money saved for them, but will I get a say in how we spend that money? I know these can be worked out, but that is not the type of marriage I want. I can't predict everything that will happen, and I don't think I can capture it in a contract. And it's already been so heartbreaking for me. I don't want to go through more. Anyways, yada yada yada. I'll just say that it feels like I was being stripped of my autonomy, stonewalled, and treated like a hostile. Okay, on to the updates. So I told him I needed to end this relationship. I appreciated and truly enjoyed my time with him, but our financial values and the preferred married lifestyle just don't match. It was a quick and easy conversation, to be honest. I expected the breakup to be a bit of a process, not a one and done thing, since our lives overlap a lot. I'm also in contact with a lot of his family, so of course, during this time, a lot of them got involved, blah blah blah. Not super relevant to the updates. Talk with his parents. Okay, I love his parents. I had a great relationship with them. I would go over to their house, we would have food, chat, watch TV. Sometimes I would go to parties they host without my ex if he was busy. A few days after my talk with my ex, I went over to say goodbye. I didn't know if the prenup was family enforced or not, so I kept it very general and mainly focused on how the situation made me feel and what I was looking for in a relationship. His parents were shocked Pikachu face when I told them why I was leaving. I'm going to bullet point the rest. His parents really want grandbabies. However, ex's younger brother and sister-in-law do not want kids. They were so happy when I came into their lives and she found out I wanted kids. His parents had created their wealth together, with his dad being the major breadwinner for most of the relationship. His mum was shocked at what he was offering me, saying these aren't the values he was raised with. She'd been effectively retired since almost 15 years ago, and she said ex's dad never made her feel uncomfortable because of the difference in earning potential. They told me that they built their assets for themselves and their children. They said that includes whoever their children decided to share their lives with. They have many properties, however they also have enough investments that they can live off those. They told me their plan was to sign over a house of our choosing as a wedding gift, or sell a house and give us cash so we could buy a house we both wanted. As they got older, they planned to evenly divide their properties between my ex and his brother, since they wouldn't want to manage the properties anymore and live off investments. Ex's mum said she would have made sure my name was on my ex's portion, especially since we were wanting kids. They mentioned investments will go directly into funds for grandkids after their passing. Maybe this is what my ex was referring to when he said his children would be set. Bit morbid though. Ex's mum told me that the mother of her grandbabies would be taken care of, and she wanted us to be on equal footing while raising a family. To be honest, this conversation was kind of like a weight off my chest. I always loved his family and never felt excluded, but the prenup talks left me confused and hurt. What they said fit with what I knew from my ex and them before. I'd be lying if I said I didn't start imagining this life. I talked to my ex again. I'll bullet point this too. Basically, he told me his dad joked before about how he hoped him and his brother would not find gold diggers, and that's where that comment came from. He felt responsibility to protect his parents' assets, since he didn't feel entitled to them, so by extension, I wasn't entitled either. In his culture, sons carry on the family line, so he felt he had to keep his assets in the family line, which I'm not a part of, but any sons we had would be. Most of the assets he's worried about are under his parents' name, and he had never asked for their opinion on what to do. He just did what he thought he should be. He also said he isn't that well off, and that his assets shouldn't come between us. This is still confusing me. Isn't this whole thing because he was well off and wanted to hold on to what he had and not create a shared lifestyle? I think maybe he meant he didn't own much and most things actually were under his parents' name. He felt he was punching above his weight with me and was scared I would leave him. He was afraid I was with him because of his finances, since that was the only thing he had more of, whereas he said I'm intelligent, hardworking, beautiful, blah blah. He was scared about moving forward with a relationship, but instead of communicating, he became defensive. To me, it seems like he said and did things because he was feeling deeply insecure. He had made a couple of passing comments before about me being more beautiful than him, or how I'm more hardworking, etc, etc. But I had always taken them as compliments, not self-depreciating comments towards himself. He's such a caring, funny and intelligent person, just in a different way than me. Also, I know he's not as confident as he comes across, but I had no idea that his insecurities ran this deep. He also apologized over and over about how he didn't mean to make me feel like an outsider to him and his parents, and insisted that he wanted to share a life with me. He said his insecurities and fear got the best of him, and he didn't handle it well. He had taken advantage of my patience and lashed out because he felt inadequate and scared. It broke my heart because I think all of this could have been avoided. We've been through this song and dance before many times, where he would feel some sort of way, then act out as he's processing it. Until now, I always stay through it and we move on, but it's never gone on for so long. But I guess the issues we faced before were smaller compared to mapping out our whole lives. I've pushed him to seek individual counselling and we've attended couples counselling together, but I can't force him to sit and identify his emotions or employ the tools we were taught. The prenup conversation happened over a long period of time. He has so many chances to pump the brakes and reflect on what he was saying and simply just listen to me. But he didn't. He then sat in front of me saying that everything he said before was not what he meant. He said he would be happy to take care of me and our future kids. We could buy a house together or rent if I wanted to, because now he wasn't scared about creating a life together. Completely opposite to everything he had been saying. But how unsettling is that? He seemed so completely comfortable and confident in the hurtful words he previously said, and was okay with placing me in a very unequal position in the relationship. Despite me continuously trying to articulate what I wanted and how he was making me feel, he didn't even consider my side over months. I know I have a good deal with what his parents are offering, and I know him and I get along super well. But I'm not marrying his parents. I can't have his mum with us during every argument or life decision we take. Thinking back, I can count on one hand where we've run into issues and he was able to address it without acting up. He's such a nice guy, but I can't be his garbage bin every time he needs to sort out his feelings. It's already worn me down. He's a grown man, he's intelligent and intuitive. He's had 2 years to learn how to communicate with me, and he's not. I honestly can't tell if what he said to me is genuine or coming from his parents or coming from a fear of losing me. I could give him the benefit of the doubt again and move forward with a relationship, as I've done in the past, but I'm tired. I think this is a fixable problem, but I also have not seen any improvement since we started dating. If anything, this prolonged experience has made me feel it's gotten worse. I will not make the mistake of investing in a man because of what he could be, instead of who he is. If the last few months are a testament to how he handles stressful situations, I can only take things as they are and assume they won't change. This whole thing has left me sour. I don't need too much, but I do expect to be treated with love and support, even during times of disagreement. I cannot just forget the feelings and words I felt and heard over the last couple of months. I can't just unhear and unknow that he's afraid I'm a gold digger. That was just one of the many comments that really hurt me. I think life will have a lot more ups and downs, and I cannot imagine what kind of difficulties we'll face if this is how we communicate, even after identifying it and working on it in therapy. For these reasons, I'm still choosing to walk away. Very different from leaving because of prenup, but it is leaving nonetheless. And to be honest, this hurts more. I know it hurt for a while, but I pray I'll be avoiding heartache and complications in the future. Who knows, if it was meant to be, maybe we'll find our way back. For now, I've told him and his family I need space and time. I know that it seems like I'm giving up a lot, but of course, there are things I can't put in a post. I actually wrote the above quite early. I didn't post because it didn't feel like it was over, but now after this time, I know it is. It's been tough and it's only been a couple of months, but I'm sure I made the right call. It's tough watching everyone coupled up and having children, but it is what it is. I'm proud of myself for leaving, and I'm slowly healing. Thank you everyone for your comments and DMs. Sorry I couldn't get back to everyone, but I appreciate you all. Holy moly, OP is one mature individual, and I love the way that they explain their thoughts and feelings in the matter, how they process them. And when they said, I'm not being invested in a man because of what he could be instead of who he is. If the last few months are a testament to how he handles stressful situations, I can only take things as they are and assume they won't change. And I personally thought that was pretty deep. I was shocked with the way I thought the parents were going to completely flip out on OP, but I'm glad OP was to had that conversation and made the choice for themselves in the end to just step away from that relationship. I personally agree with OP that is the right thing to do at the time, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.